हो इस पल मेरे हो, कल शायद ये आलम न रहे। कुछ ऐसा हो तुम ना रहो, कुछ ऐसा हो हम न रहे। ये रास्ते अलग हो जाए, चलते चलते हम खो जाए। मैं फिर भी तुमको चाहूँगा, मैं फिर भी तुमको चाहूँगा, मैं फिर भी तुमको चाहूँगा, मैं फिर भी तुमको चाहूँगा। इस चाहत में मर जाऊँगा, मैं फिर भी तुमको चाहूँगा। मेरी जान में हर खामोशी में तेरे प्यार के नगमे गाऊंगा। मैं फिर भी तुमको चाहूँगा, मैं फिर भी तुमको चाहूँगा। इस चाहत में मर जाऊँगा, मैं फिर भी तुमको चाहूँगा। तो एक ख्वाब हूँ, इस ख्वाब से तू प्यार ना कर। मैं तो एक ख्वाब हूँ, इस ख्वाब से तू प्यार ना कर। प्यार हो जाए तो फिर प्यार का इजहार ना कर।
Okay. So for the record, please tell us your first name, last name, and where you live.
Sure. My first name is Monisha Patel, and I live in Brampton, Ontario, Canada.
Welcome. Thanks for coming on our show. And what is your full-time profession?
So I am currently a respiratory therapist, and I've been a respiratory therapist since 1996. So we came to Canada in 1974.
Okay.
Yes.
74. Okay.
Mhm.
And you came after mom and dad.
So dad came first, and then we came. So we came from England, but prior to England, we were in Uganda.
Okay.
Yes.
And when dad came in the early 70s, do you know where he stayed?
When we first landed, we were in Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Uh-huh.
That was for 6 months, I believe. And then we came to Hamilton, where we met you.
Right. Yeah, he stayed with me for a while. And then you guys came over, so he took a bigger place, I guess, and so forth. Right?
And thank you very much for giving us that support we needed when we first landed.
Any regrets?
Absolutely not. We're in a safer country with more opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. You're absolutely right. And this is, I keep saying it's God's country.
Yes.
but every now and then somebody gives it a bad name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Proud to be Canadian.
Right. Yeah. So in Hamilton, did you stay for a while?
As far as I remember, I think we were only there for, I'm gonna guess, a year,
I can't hear you.
maybe 1 year.
Oh, okay. So
I
you went to
think.
school in Hamilton? Yeah.
No, we were still very young. So
I see.
maybe, yeah. We didn't start kindergarten until we moved to Carleton Place.
Oh, okay. Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's a lovely place. That's a nice place that I think
Beautiful.
you would have enjoyed. And nice and peaceful.
Yes, very nice.
Yeah, we've been to that home too. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you did most of your high schooling up to high school in which city? Carleton Place?
Yes. So in Carleton Place, I finished to grade 13 because back then they had grade 13. And then I graduated and I moved to London, Ontario to go to Western University.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I went there for 4 years and I did my Bachelor of Science degree in biology.
Hmm.
And then I moved on to my second degree.
I see.
Yeah,
And what was that?
respiratory therapy.
I see.
Yeah. And it's in London that I met my husband.
Oh, nice. So it was
Yeah.
a love affair from university. Yeah. Yeah. We're sorry to hear about what happened to him. Can you
Yeah.
briefly tell us what he went through the last year?
Yeah, I can. So unfortunately, in his 20s, he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which runs in his family. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So on his mother's side, most of them have type 1 diabetes and kidney disease. On his dad's side, they have type 2 diabetes and heart disease. So he got the combination of everything. So in his early 20s, he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. He started using insulin.
Hmm.
And he did well, but as a young man in his 20s and 30s, I can't say that he looked after himself that the best he should have. He didn't. He chose, sometimes to eat things that he shouldn't eat, and unfortunately, but anyhow, when he was 43, he had a triple bypass. So he had a heart condition. He ended up having 3 blocked arteries and a triple bypass. And then he did really well, changed his lifestyle, and he did really well until he turned 50. And when he turned 50, unfortunately, his kidneys started failing and he had to go on home dialysis. So he did well. On home dialysis, he did well. Like he was functioning, he was doing everything. And if you met him, you wouldn't believe that he was unwell because he was very positive and joyful and yeah. But unfortunately, he caught something. They don't know what he caught. It wasn't COVID, but it was something infectious. They couldn't pinpoint it, and that took him 5 days in the hospital, and he passed away, unfortunately, in the hospital. That was when he was 51 years old, December 21st, 2022. So it was unfortunate, but I'm going to admit that I didn't think there was really any other path that this would have gone because he was not going to be a candidate for a kidney transplant or a pancreas because his heart was too weak. So eventually, now, because I'm in the medical profession, I think I looked at it in a very positive light and a very realistic approach. And so that's how we lived. So yeah, he was a great person, but unfortunately taken too young.
Yeah, I feel guilty, living at this age when I see young people going. For some reason, I thought that he was a victim of the COVID and pneumonia related thing. I know he had diabetes.
Yeah.
But his last few days were rough.
Yeah. They were rough and they couldn't figure out what was going on. But whatever he caught, some sort of virus turned his body into a complete spin and they couldn't get a handle on it.
Mhm.
So, we did the best we could. The doctors were amazing. The nurses were amazing. Everyone did the best they could for him. But if it was his time, it was his time. But we had a great 30 years together. Absolutely incredible. So
Very good. Now, you have a young son.
Huh?
How old is your son?
Jaden is now 20 years old.
His name is Jaden.
Yeah.
And his dad was?
Jayesh.
I see. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So what is Jaden up to?
He is in a cybersecurity in his second year of cybersecurity, and it's a roughly 4 to 5 year program.
And where
So
is that?
it's in Brampton, so he can commute easily. Yeah. So he stays with me and he looks after his mummy.
Yeah, that's very important. And these
Yeah,
are the times that, young people usually are very confused. But
yes,
obviously, I heard from your dad that he has been a pillar of strength for you,
absolutely. Yes. I'm very thankful. We support each other. So it's great. Yeah.
right? And do you always work days, steady days?
Yeah. So I currently work, I'm not in critical care anymore.
Mhm.
I only work in education. So what I do is, I see the patients who require more education and teaching. And so, for example, you go in, you have asthma, you have inhalers, you don't understand your condition and how to deal with it. That's where I come in. So you come and see me. So I work in a clinic that runs 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it's an asthma and COPD clinic. COPD is a lung condition caused by smoking.
Oh, I
So
see.
that's what I do. And it's a great job. It's very rewarding. And the asthma patients are of all ages. I get the little 4-year-olds and then I get the 70-year-olds. So it's a nice range. And you always feel it's a feel good job. You feel good at the end of the day that you've hopefully made a difference in somebody's life.
You mentioned that is kind of self-inflicted. You didn't say the word, but smoking, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that from your experience you would advise to, I found recently more and more teenagers, of course, are smoking more, but more and more girls are smoking.
Yeah. So, absolutely. Now, I'm going to tell you that the majority of the patients that I see are in their 70s and 80s
Mhm.
who smoked at a very young age back in the day when everybody was smoking. They were smoking in their homes, in the offices, in the malls, in the restaurants. So these people have over a 50-year smoking history, and they've done some pretty bad damage on their lungs. In terms of the younger kids, we're not seeing the smoking as much as we're seeing the vaping. And
Mm.
they seem to think that vaping is a safer substitute, and it absolutely is not. So I think, and smoking weed. So it's a different population that we're dealing with. There's a lot of education for them. There's a lot of education in the schools, but at the end of the day, it's a personal choice that somebody makes to do it. So I see the patients that come in who, again, have been smoking for many years, and now they're at a point where they've quit smoking and they're trying to figure out how can they stop the further progression of what's called chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, right? So that's what I do every day. It's a great job, and it's a great corporation.
Now, you mentioned about vaping. For some reason, I thought the paper in the cigarette is what is causing the problem, not the tobacco. And I thought vaping has got rid of that. That's not true.
No, but the vaping has lots of other chemicals. So,
Right.
this is how I describe it to anybody. Anything that you're inhaling that's not normal, right? Breathing everyday air is bad enough for us.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're adding all these chemicals into your system. So, I mean, it's just, people know that what they're doing is wrong. It's just unfortunate. Sometimes they don't make good choices.
Mm-hmm. But is there a small percentage who need it for health purposes?
For vaping?
The
Do you mean smoking weed?
helping them in pain relief or something?
Maybe the weed smoking, yes, but not the vaping. No, that is completely a social addiction, I think. Yeah.
So we went from the frying pan to the fire.
You got it.
Yeah, I used to smoke, and one day when I came home, my kid was, I think, 6 or 7 years old, and he was lying on the ground with his feet up in the air like a beetle, and he was coughing and putting on a show, and he did a good show. I said, "What's happening?" He says, "I'm dying from all the smoke that I get." I said, "When did you start smoking?" He said, "No, secondhand smoke, your smoke."
I know.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so the school taught him well, and that's the last time I smoked. I
Good
gave
for
up.
you. Good
Yeah,
for
I gave
you.
up that day because I never realized that, secondhand smoke also does damage, right?
Yes. So and I don't know if you know what third hand smoke is. That is when it's in the furniture in the carpet, in the curtains, in your bedding.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now that's changed. That's changed. People don't smoke in their homes now. They really don't. They smoke outside. But back in the day, everybody smoked everywhere. So that's third-hand smoke.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you smoke outside, you still bring it in your clothes.
It's in your clothes. And you
Right.
don't realize that
Right.
because you don't smell it. Everyone else smells it. And everyone else inhales it. Yes. I'm glad you quit.
Yeah. So if you had full control of the world, what would you stop regarding the smoking of the population?
I think we have to start with the tobacco companies, right?
Pardon me?
We have to start with the companies that are selling this stuff.
Making them, selling them.
Making their money by making people sick. So there needs to be some sort of regulation on that. Not sure how we would do it.
Yeah.
Because it's a big money maker.
It's a big money maker, and that's why they'll make policies and tax you, but won't take it up.
That's
Now,
right.
interesting thing was when I used to smoke a long time ago, we were getting a carton of 200 cigarettes for $2 or $3.
That's right.
And now the other day in the summer, a couple of kids helped me out with some work I was doing around the garage.
Yeah.
So when they were leaving, I asked them, I said, you've done about 4 hours worth of work. How can I compensate you? And the kids were such simple, nice guys. They said, give me $20.
Yeah.
So I said, look, they've done 4 hours worth, even at minimum wage, right? So anyway, I gave them $50 each. And as soon as they saw that, they got excited and they said, I was taking them back home. They said, can you go? We have so-and-so street. We could have stopped at the gas pumps. I said, okay. I took them there and they went in to buy a pack of cigarettes.
Right. Oh boy.
So the guy gave the vendor took his $50 bill and let's see what happened. Yeah. He said, there's $27 for today's cigarette and 27 you owe me from before. So you still owe me $4.
Oh my goodness.
Obviously, the vendor was also ripping them off because late at night there's not
expensive.
Yeah, $27 for a pack. And these guys didn't think anything about it. They just paid that and they said, okay. And they didn't have money for food, but yeah.
I know. I mean, people go to the reserve too, right? They go to the reserves to get cigarettes because it's cheaper and they roll their own. And oh my God.
Yeah, yeah.
It's too bad. Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah. It is sad and it's affecting the whole country and the healthcare system.
Yes, absolutely.
Healthcare system. Do you have any good or bad to say about OHIP?
First of all, I think Ontarians need to realize that we're very fortunate in Ontario to have OHIP. And I can give you some perspective on even just oxygen therapy itself. If you needed oxygen therapy at home and a home oxygen setup, Ontario has the best home oxygen program. So out east, most of the provinces do not cover home oxygen. You have to pay for it out of your pocket. Just to give you an idea, some of the other provinces have stricter policies to get oxygen, sorry. So I think we have to really appreciate, first of all, that we have any type of funding. And then secondly, all these little things that other provinces don't cover. And then of course, the United States is a totally different story. I worked in the United States for 2 years after I graduated in Arizona. And there, as we all know, it's all insurance based and it's a very hard program to work under. You lose I was losing parts of my humanity working there because I couldn't touch people that were really, really sick and who really, really needed me because they didn't have respiratory therapy services under their insurance plan. So when I hear people complaining about the wait times and, oh my gosh, I was in emergency for 8 hours, I understand those are long wait times. That's a government problem. That's not the staffing problem. That is people working extremely hard in the emergency rooms and the floors in the hospitals, working with less staff. So there you go. There's my take on it. We're very, very lucky.
Mm-hmm. So Mr. Ford is doing the right thing.
Yeah. And also too, I think I've always said this, and I think there's some value to it. I'm not sure, but even if we're not paying for this, we should see the bill. We should see the bill because I feel like our frequent people who just go to emerge for every little thing, or the people that decide they're not going to check their blood sugars every day and let's let them go up and down and into the hospital, out of the hospital. Maybe they should see the bill and think twice about it if they had to pay for that. So there's my thought on that.
Good point. Good point. I won't open my mouth because I waited 6 years for a family doctor.
Right. And I understand parts of the province are really struggling, but then I think that you need to give an incentive for young doctors to move to those areas. Give them a reason to go there, right?
Yeah.
My dad's brother that you know who passed away in Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
He tried to retire so many times and he retired at 84 years of age. That's too old. Because every time a young doctor would come in to replace him, they would leave. Right? You need to give them a reason to move to where you want them to be, right? I don't know. And then maybe make it easier, may open up the medical schools to more programs and more admissions. Yeah.
So he worked till 84 by choice.
Yeah, definitely not a financial reason.
No.
He couldn't find people to replace him.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And that was a big struggle there because people don't want to move to small towns out east. They want to be in the big cities.
Right. Now, talk about that. I had a job offer once in a town called Fredericton.
Yeah.
In New Brunswick.
New Brunswick.
Yeah. And I went on a Thursday night. Friday was the interview. And after the interview was done, they told me that they're hiring me. So I said, where do I sign? And the guy gave me the staff card. And he says, keep this for the weekend. I said, why? He says, I'll sign you up on Monday if you're still here.
Amazing. Amazing.
He said, 9 out of 10 people. He said, I got tired of hiring people from Ontario. They come and a day later they quit. So he said, I won't sign you up. And he gave the company car, company expense, hotel, everything. He says, stay here if you're still here on Monday. So guess what I did on Saturday? I gave him his keys back. And
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, it was very difficult. There was nothing there. There was no.
No, it's really tough.
Fast food place. There was no. People are doing grocery shopping at the 7-Eleven kind of a shop, right?
Yeah.
And those days, milk was $1 or something for a 2-liter bag here, and it was $5 over there.
Yeah.
Wages are not that high right? But these are all the things that we don't realize even within our province. I had a friend in Toronto asking me, he says, can I get a second opinion and find another doctor? I just laughed. I said, I waited 6 years, then I got a doctor who went after 3 months to maternity leave. Another one came and retired. And every time that happened, they didn't replace the doctor. They told me to go to the bottom of the list.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate.
Yeah. So anyway, I learned not to get sick.
There you go, right?
Yeah. About the other thing about future of the children who are coming in Brampton especially, we've got a whole pile of people from our country.
That's
and
right.
A lot of them have Gujarati background and Punjabi background. So what would you say to somebody who is listening just now? And I'm hoping some people will be listening. If they want to move here, what should they do? I'm not saying that they should not move, but what is the right way so that our children have a good future?
Yeah, I think that everyone should have an opportunity to move to these beautiful places where they can create a new life. I would say that they need to be ready for this huge change and culture shock. Because I think that I've never seen India, but I feel like they come here thinking that we have a really easy life here. And we absolutely do not have that. You have to work extremely hard. Jobs are very competitive. Now that they're all coming in and there's a huge influx, it's affecting not only them and their opportunities, but ours as well. So patience and understanding. And in Brampton, following the rules of the country a little bit. Like I feel sometimes when I live here, I feel that they come with their own set of rules and they don't like road rules. Like, let's just talk about driving in itself, right? This is not India. You have to follow the rules of the road. There's a stop sign for a reason. There's lights for a reason. So I get frustrated because I live in Brampton. I have to deal with this day in and day out. So I would say to them, please come. I want you to build a beautiful life here, but you need to adjust to the Canadian rules and laws and be ready for a struggle. It's not easy here. And I think that's why they're renting homes. There's one on our street. We think there's about 10 students living there right now in one house because they simply can't afford it. It's very, very expensive. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
last week, the 102 or 104 that got sent back to India, one of them was a lady with a small child, and she had paid 1 crore rupees. 1 crore rupees is like 10 million rupees, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a lot of money just to get safe here, but he brought them to Mexico and through the swamps and whatever, 40, 50-kilometer hikes, and finally they got caught and sent back. And it was sad, but my personal thing was, if you got 2 crore rupees there, why do you want to leave?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I think they have this false idea that, I'm going to go to Canada. I mean, I have my neighbor, I can tell you that she actually went back to India because their medical system is so good. And she was able to get quicker help, better help for her daughter in India.
In India.
In India. So, you know what I mean? So I think they just come here and they think that things are glamorous. And yes, it's a beautiful country and there's opportunity, but it's not an easy way of life.
No, no. But if you're honest and hardworking, there is a future.
Absolutely.
And my point always is, you're making a life for your kids, not for yourself.
Yes.
You've seen everything good and bad over there. You learn how to struggle. I've been through times when we had to decide between my son going for cubs and my daughter going for brownies.
I know.
$25 it was. We couldn't afford both.
I know. So hard, eh?
Kids are driving, coming here, I want to drive a new car every 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And the funny part is that car dealers are now giving them 7 and 8 year loans.
Right.
And the cars don't last that long, at least without maintenance. You need repair bills.
Yeah. So tough. So tough.
Yeah. And it's scary and it's hard to convince them. Do you feel that if they were better educated there, it would be better? Better, I mean, like high school, graduate, at least undergrad studies, then they'd have a better understanding?
So I don't know that I know enough about their education system.
Can't hear you.
I don't know if I know enough about their education system back home. I have no idea. I'm guessing it's probably better.
India, it's paid. Nothing is free in India. All the school is paid.
Right. Okay.
So some of my friends, my colleagues that I've talked to back home, they spend more than half their take-home pay on children's tuition fee for 2 kids.
Yes.
So not everybody can afford that.
Right.
A lot of people figure that if you can write CAT, CAT, DOG, dog, you're educated.
Yeah.
But that's not taking them too far.
Yeah.
Classic case I heard the other day was one kid convinced his parents, that uneducated parents, that I cannot pass 10th grade in India because the school system is terrible in India.
Oh.
So I'll go to Canada and I'll do my 10th and my 11th and my 12th, and then I'll do my MBA.
Really?
Yeah, so he doesn't have a clue that between 10th grade and MBA, there's a lot of things that he's got to do.
Wow.
And in the meantime, most of these kids are in their 20s, so marriageable age, other interests, other distractions are. So seems like crime seems to be the easy way out for a lot of them.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, education-wise, not only for new immigrants, but even our kids, like your kids born here, what advice do you give them about, you can drop out after 11th, 12th grade and make $17 an hour, but you'll be doing that for the rest of your life, right?
Well, I think that back in our time, and definitely your time, we felt more pressure from our parents to be doctors and dentists and lawyers and pharmacists and engineers, right? Now we sort of say, okay, we're here to support you. These are the current trends that are sort of moving forward in terms of professions. Ultimately, they need to make a decision. What kind of life are they looking for? If they want a life where they have a house and a car and children and everything that costs a lot of money, you have to be able to support that with a good career. So I think it depends on what they're looking for, in their future. Because I think if you asked a city child, someone who grew up in Toronto with a lot of money, they would have a different response than somebody out maybe in London, Ontario, who grew up on a farm. Right? So it's hard for me to, but my generation, I feel that we support our children to make choices that they ultimately have to live with. Does that make sense?
So you make the decision for them?
Well, no, they make the decision. We support them.
Okay.
Whereas back in the day, like my dad always said, I want you to be a pharmacist. I want you to be a pharmacist. And I said, okay, how about I work in a pharmacy and see if I like it. So when I was in high school, I worked in a pharmacy, just part-time, and I didn't like it. And I told my dad, I can't be a pharmacist. And he said, why not? I said, because I don't want to stand behind a counter and count drugs and pills all my life. I want to be with patients. I want to be in the hospital. I want to do more. So that was a tough conversation.
Was your sister of the same opinion? The one who's in the same field as you?
Her decision to be in respiratory therapy was really just based on my decision to be, and that she'll tell you the same thing. We were both at Western and she wasn't sure what she wanted to do. So she said, what are you doing? And I told her, she goes, I'm going to apply. So we decided to, and then we did it. We actually did the program at the exact same time, but 2 different schools.
I see.
Because I didn't want to be in her class.
Oh, okay. You guys are what, 1 year apart?
Yeah, we're 15 months apart. And she's very easygoing, but I'm very competitive. So I said, no, I don't want to be in your class. I think that's my dad's personality.
But the choice of the profession was obviously influenced by you.
Absolutely. And she would say that, yes.
Right, right. Now, mom and dad had no clue about what your profession was before you got in there. Right?
They had no idea.
What about your other sister? What did she do?
So she currently works, she's a manager of a retail store.
Mm-hmm.
And she does well. Her store is in Etobicoke in a mall.
Okay.
And her store has one of the highest sales in Canada. So she's really good in sales.
Okay.
Yeah, sales and marketing, yeah.
What kind of product?
Bath and Body Works.
What?
It's called Bath and Body Works.
Okay, yeah. And you guys all live within a few kilometers?
No. So 45 minutes from one sister, and I'm 45 minutes from the other sister.
So you don't get together every weekend?
No. Probably once a month.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Now, I'm not sure about your sister. Which one is, who's got 2 kids?
So that's the respiratory therapist sister. So she's 15 months younger than me. She has a boy and a girl.
Okay.
And then the other sister has a boy.
And the other one, I think her mother-in-law was a governor of some province.
That's also the sister who's a respiratory therapist who has the 2 kids.
Okay.
He's married to Kurt Hagerman, and his mom was the lieutenant governor of PEI for 5 years.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I saw the newspaper clippings when your dad was performing. Yeah. That's very good, right?
Yeah,
right.
She was a lovely lady. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what about your sister's kids? What field are they in?
So her son is in eye biomedical engineering at McMaster.
Okay.
He's now in his 4th year.
Okay.
So that's a really good program. He's very smart, very, very smart.
Mm-hmm.
And the daughter started her first year at Queen's University in health science.
Wow. Queen's is tough to get in.
Yeah, it is. And it's such a good school. Like I love Queen's University. It has a great reputation.
Right. Now, both those kids, did they decide their future fields on their own, or were they influenced by?
I think my sister had some influence on it. Yeah. A little bit of research and discussion.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because my next question is, was that decision not influenced by your parents, how they pushed them?
No. My parents don't have too much, really, any influence on our children.
No, I'm talking about your sister. As a sister did not take the attitude saying, do whatever you like, enjoy life, do whatever, you'll grow up someday, you can go and look for you, because parents are not like that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that, I don't mean the field as such, but getting kids to focus, because at that age, you're not concentrating. You don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All my life, I wanted to be a car jockey. I just want to work used car lots and drive half a dozen cars. And in fact, first 3 years, I drove a taxi in Toronto, and my wife used to say, you don't want to drive a taxi. You just want to try the different kinds of taxis.
Yeah, so it's fun, right?
Those days, yeah. But these are all influences that I'm glad both my kids have followed our advice and taken it, and
good.
done the right thing.
And where do your kids live?
I've got a daughter who is, I guess, close to your age. She did her human resources master's in I'm sorry, she did a bachelor's in human resources, and then I insisted that she go and do her MBA. But she and all her classmates said, no, we're going to go to a community college because BA didn't teach us anything. We got to go to community college. And so they went to, I think, George Brown or Seneca or somewhere and did her not bachelor's, her diploma in human resources.
Good.
And to my surprise, within the 9th month, Ford Credit came and hired her.
Amazing.
She even finished her studies.
Amazing.
Whereas university kids were sitting there holding the bag with nothing happening.
Wow. Wow.
So anyway, she met her husband over there, and she's got married to him now 20 some years ago. And they have 2 lovely kids, and they've settled down in St. John, Newfoundland. I think it is John, not John's. Yeah, so they're happy there. And they run a business providing cosmetics and supplies for all the beauty parlors in the Atlantic provinces. So they got about 20 employees, and it's a full-time business.